Get a lot of questions about the granny square, and I'm going to show you variations of things that you can do with it. Firstly, you have to begin your granny square. Now there's several different ways that you can do that. One is to make your slip knot, chain a few, say 4 or 5, we'll do 4, then join into a ring by making a slip stitch in your first chain. Now you can see that you have a hole in the center, and that would be where you will continue to work your stitches. You'd have to chain up a few, and then you'd have to, if you're going to make double crochets, for example, you make them into the center hole that you just created. Sometimes you'll have to push them aside to make room for your stitches, depending upon how many you want to do. And the granny square would have enough space here to make a granny square. That's one way. Another way, we're going to start again with a slip knot. We're going to chain 4. Then we're going to work on double crochet into the first chain that we made. And we're going to continue working into that first chain. And you might think you can't fit a whole lot of stitches there, but not so. You can. You will be easily able to fit all of your stitches in that first chain. You can do this with single crochet or half double or triple or whatever stitches you're doing. If I was making an actual granny square, I would just continue around, continue to work all my stitches into that hole. Okay, that's the second way you can start. Now if you're making a blanket out of a bunch of granny squares, you want to make them all the same way, of course, so that you have them all looking the same. Now the way that I like to start my granny squares is by using an adjustable ring. The way I do that is make a loop here. This is my strand here, the beginning of the skein, and this here is the one coming from the skein. I'll stick my hook in here and grab the yarn and pull it through. Then I'm going to make my chain up, and I'm going to continue to make my stitches in the center of the loop that I just made. You see me do that again. I'm going to make this tiny just so you can see it. Then I'll go around my finger here, bring up the part that comes from my skein. You can do it the opposite way if you want. And I'm going to grab that skein, that thread there, the strand, pull it through, and then I'm going to make my chains. And then I'm going to continue to make 2 more double crochets. Chain 3, another shell, which is 3 double crochets. You might see that written as shell. A shell can be any number of a group of double crochets. Doesn't have to be 3, but in this case, for a granny square, for this granny square, it's going to be 3. There are many different kinds of granny squares. What makes it a granny square? Well, in my mind, if it's worked in the round, like this, and it's a square, of course, it's going to be a granny square. Now what we're making here is the basic granny square. Shells separated by chains. Now different people use a different number of chains. It depends on your tension, what you need to get your square and to lie flat. I use on my first round 3 double crochets and chain 3 between them. You can use chain 2 if you prefer. You can use chain 1 if you prefer. It's up to you. Just to make them all the same if you're working them for a project that will be they'll be added together, assembled together. Now I'm going to pull on this beginning strand to close my hole. There are different ways to end this round. One way is to make a double crochet and join into the top of your first chain 3. This ends you right at the beginning of the hole, which would be a chain 3 hole in this other spot. This is your hole here. And you would continue your shell here in the same spot. That's one way you can do it. Now when you work around, you come back, you're going to make the end of your corner will be here in the same spot. You see how that works in a little bit. First I'm going to show you some other methods. Another method is to continue making your chain 3 and join with a slip stitch in the top of your original chain 3, your first chain 3. Then you're going to slip stitch in the next stitch, slip stitch in the next one. Those are double crochets. You're going to slip stitch again in the chain 3 space, and now you're going to start working your first shell here in the chain 3 space. You're going to do shell, chain 3, shell in that space to give you your first corner. And that's another way. And then you're going to have another corner here, another corner here, another corner here. Now another method is to do a chain 1 and a half double crochet, or you could use a single crochet here if you prefer. That's what I normally use, this one here. Then we're going to chain up. I usually chain up 2 and make a shell. The first shell, well, I guess it's the second shell really, because you're going to make your first one here. We'll make one shell of our corner right here in that same space. Then I'm going to chain 1, because this is going to be my side of my next round, my round 2. That's going to be the side. So I'm going to chain 1. Then I'm going to make another corner here in this spot. What is a corner? 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets. That's your corner. In your first round, you had corner, 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 because you only had 4 shells. Now here we're going to have more. So we have a corner here. Now this is going to be our side. So we chain 1 and we make another corner. That'll be another shell. Chain 3 and another shell. Now we're at another corner, so we're going to chain 1, another side, so we're going to chain 1, then we make another corner. Shell, or 3 double crochets, chain 3, and 3 more double crochets in the same chain 3 space. We're at now our last side, so we're going to chain 1. Now remember, when we began, we did our first shell here. We're going to do our second shell of our corner, because corner is shell, chain 3 shell. So we're going to do our next shell, our last shell here. And now we're back to the beginning. See, I'll square. And we need to join this corner. We can use any of the methods mentioned so far.